Hey girl, hey, and welcome to the Self-Love Fix podcast, where we get relatable, we share tea, and we support each other on this journey of self-love, self-worth, personal development, self-esteem, and self-care. Because why wait until it's too late to start becoming the best version of ourselves? Let's start today. And I'm your host, Beatrice. So let's get into it. Hey girl, hey, and welcome back to the Self-Love Fix. Okay, so now that I got some of the housekeeping out of the way, this week's topic, I'm so excited for this week's topic because I've been wanting to talk about this for a while. It is, you are not responsible for other people's feelings. So I really want to get into this topic because I think it relates so much to loving ourselves and knowing what we deserve and don't deserve. So I used to be the type of person that would think it was my responsibility to kind of soothe other people. Like if they got upset with something I said, like maybe say I set a boundary and they got upset about it, or I communicated how I felt and they got upset about it. Like I felt like it was my responsibility to soothe them and to make them feel better. And sometimes I would even take back my words. Once I'd see how people would react, I'd be like, okay. Like in my head, I would think, okay, so I can see they're getting upset. I can see that they're distancing themselves away from me. Maybe I shouldn't have expressed how I felt, or maybe I shouldn't have set that boundary. Let me just take it back. Like basically, let me just soften the blow, for lack of better words. Like I would many times just end up going to the person who seemed upset or seemed like they were offended by what I had to say or whatever, and just kind of be like, actually, I didn't really mean that. Oh, wait, actually, it's just this. Like I would modify what I had said earlier because I felt like it was my responsibility to fix the fact that somebody else felt upset or felt some kind of way about what I had to say. And honestly, I thought this was something everybody else did, to the point where the tables turned and someone said something to me that made me feel upset or made me feel maybe just offended or, made me feel some type of way. I would wait for somebody to kind of be like, oh, sorry, or actually, I didn't really mean it that way, or just add some kind of modifier. And when they didn't, I would resent them. I would get upset. Like, what is wrong with you? Like, if it was me, I would have done da-da-da and da-da-da. I would have done X, Y, and Z to make you feel better. Why aren't you comforting me? Why aren't you soothing me? Because just as much as I felt it was my responsibility to soothe other people when they weren't happy with me, I felt it was other people's responsibility to do the same with me. So it was a two-way street, which is really a recipe for disaster. And this is no shade, or I'm not trying to shame people who do this. And if you can resonate with this, don't feel shamed. Like I said, this literally used to be me too. It happens to a lot of us. Usually people who are more on the codependent side. And honestly, I'm going to get to talking about codependency because I feel like I bring up a lot of terms on this podcast. And I'm like, oh no, dude, does anybody know what I'm saying? Does anybody know these terms? So I want to talk about codependency pretty soon here. But for now, definitely Google that term codependency. It just describes people who, well, I guess in a short way, I would say people pleasers, or people who are kind of more clingy and more kind of almost addicted to, I know it sounds strange to say addicted to other people or addicted to love. It sounds almost a bit inflammatory, but if you read about codependency and understand codependency, you'll understand that it's sort of an addiction to love. And when you're kind of like addicted to love, you seek that from other people and you do whatever you can to get it from other people, such as people pleasing and feeling responsible for other people's feelings. But before I get too into it, like I said, I definitely want to go in depth on this on another episode, but I just wanted to give a little brief intro to what codependency is. So I think it's only right to give some examples of feeling responsible for how other people feel and what that might look like in your day-to-day life. So I think this really might look like when somebody invites you to go somewhere and you had like a really long week at work and it's the weekend and it's your weekend. You want to stay home, stay on your bed, stay on your couch or whatever, and someone asks you to do something and they're like, oh, but please, but it's going to be really fun. It's just 2 hours. And you tell them, no, I need to stay home. I'm sorry, I'm really tired. And they're just like, wow, I never really see you that much anymore. And all I want to do is just hang out with you. I'm just really sad that we can't hang out today. I really thought we were going to be able to do something, but okay. If somebody kind of responds like that, which by the way is kind of not the greatest response, but then you just kind of feel a sense of guilt and you're like, oh no. Maybe I guess it is only 2 hours. I guess I could sacrifice just a little bit of time. And you're just like, okay, fine. I'll be there. It's not like that person even communicated to you exactly what they felt, but you could just tell they were disappointed. And so you feel like it's your responsibility to now soothe that disappointment that they're experiencing, right? Or it could even dip into things at like work. Say it's your coworkers or your boss and they're asking you to help out with something and stay a little later after work. And it's not something that's mandatory for you to do. It's just they need a helping hand, and they can ask other people too, but they just happen to ask you. And, it's your boss or your coworker. And so you kind of feel like, oh, I guess I should help. Maybe I should stay, even though like you have to go home and you have other obligations. You're like, oh, okay, maybe I should just stay because I don't want my boss to feel disappointed that I said no. Again, this is for something that's not mandatory. It's just, oh, can you help me with this? You might feel responsible for helping out your boss or coworker with whatever task because you feel like they're going to be disappointed with you if you don't, when in reality, they can just find somebody else who's willing to and able to do that task, right? And that used to be me big time. Like at work, I remember like at work, somebody would be like, can you help me do XYZ super difficult tasks that I had no desire to do? And I would just be like, yeah, definitely. So willing. And in my head, I'm like, why are you mouthing yes? Why are you saying yes? And your mind is saying no. What are you doing? And I would resent them. I'd be like, oh, they made me stay and they made me do this, that, and the third. And it's like, I really had to look in the mirror like, it's you though. It's you. You're the one who said that you wanted to do this. You're the one who agreed. It's not them. You had a choice. If somebody says, here's one thing I always say, if somebody asks you a question and gives you, that indicates a choice. Like they say, do you want to, or would you like to, or can you? That's not somebody giving you an ultimatum. That's not somebody saying you must do this. And obviously nobody has dominion over anyone in the first place, but a lot of us forget that they're actually asking you. And you can always say, like if somebody says, would you like to help me do this? You say, actually, I won't be able to do this. If they want to get mad or get upset, you can always say, well, I can understand your frustration, but you asked me if I could, and I'm going to be honest. I actually can't. You don't even have to say why. You don't even have to be like, I actually can't because I have to go pick up my kids and I have to do this, that, and the third. And I have to take this one to dance class. And I don't know. You don't have to explain why. The person literally asked you, can you, would you? They gave you a choice. So you can choose not to. So I just wanted to point that out because I think a lot of us forget that we have choices in this life. If you've come from a family where people made you feel responsible for their feeling, made you feel like, oh, this is going to make mommy sad, or this is going to make daddy sad if you don't do this, or, oh, haven't you thought about how I would feel if you did X, Y, and Z, or if you were even in a relationship where you had a partner that when you made a certain choice or decision, they would give you the silent treatment and start distancing themselves from you, or give you kind of an attitude and not explain themselves and not self-soothe on their own and expected you to soothe. This is probably a thing you can really relate to. And I think it all goes back to when we have those experiences with family members or even with partners, it's this fear of abandonment and fear of rejection. Whenever we feel the need to help soothe others when they're upset with us or when they are sad or whatever about something we've said, it's really what it is deep. There's this deep-seated thought that, oh my God, if I don't do something, if I don't tell them sorry, or if I don't soften the blow or mute or modify what I say or what I've said, they're going to leave me, or they're going to, like, they're not going to be my friend anymore, or my partner anymore, whatever. They're going to stop talking to me. I know it sounds super irrational, but it's actually probably what might be going on deep down in the brain somewhere. And if it's not the fear of abandonment, which again is something that is so rooted, if you do have a fear of abandonment, it's something that's so deep within like the psyche or within the mind that it's really hard to even know unless you go through therapy, really spend some extensive time with yourself trying to understand yourself. It's really hard to know. But if it's not for the fear of abandonment, it could simply just be a fear of rejection, just that fear like, oh my gosh, like this person won't like like me anymore. This person doesn't like me because I've said or done this. When in reality, we really want to move away from that thinking. It's not that you cause someone else to not like you or you cause someone else to move away from you. It's that someone else, for whatever reason, has decided that it's other people's responsibility to make them feel better. And again, if this kind of ties into one of the episodes I've done earlier on this podcast called Maintaining and Protecting Your Energy, which is just this idea that we all have to learn how to soothe our own selves. And if we don't know how to soothe our own selves, we expect other people to do it. And not knowing how to soothe your own self when somebody upsets you or when somebody makes you feel some type of way ends up making you feel resentful towards someone else. It ends up making you do things like give people a silent treatment or lash out at people, those kinds of things. Whereas people who do know how to soothe themselves, yeah, they might still get upset or feel slighted or feel some type of way if someone says something that just makes them feel that way. But the difference is they're not going to expect the other person to make them feel better. They're not going to expect that. What they're going to do instead is deal with that internally, like deal with that kind of upsettedness or uncomfortableness internally and just decide for themselves, okay, well, I just have to deal with this. If it's, for example, if you ask someone to come join you for an event on the weekend and the other person says, I'm actually really tired from work, kind of like the example I was using earlier, if you know how to soothe yourself, I mean, yeah, you might be disappointed that your friend can't come hang out with you over the weekend, but you're going to be like, she's busy. She's had a long week at work. I completely understand. I guess I'll just find somebody else to hang out with. Like, you're going to have that ability to self-soothe as opposed to sort of turning to this whole thing of, oh my God, you never hang out with me. You never do anything with me. When are you going to actually do something with me? All I ask is for 2 hours of your time. It's not going to spin into that whole thing. Again, doing that is kind of expecting somebody to soothe you because you're upset or disappointed because somebody doesn't want to hang out with you. You want to make that other person feel responsible for that. And that's not the case. It's that you just kind of have to roll with it and figure out what you're going to do instead because your friend is simply saying no, that kind of a thing. So in order to move past this idea of feeling responsible for how other people feel, we really just have to remember that that's just not our responsibility. It's not our responsibility if we're afraid that people are going to leave us, as in like stopping our friend, stopping our partner, or stop interacting with us because we choose to set up a boundary or because we choose to not help them soothe themselves. We have to remember that we have to look at each person like, hey, these are people that are capable of soothing themselves. And you might be saying, but Beatrice, not everybody's capable of soothing themselves. I know it's not your job to try and help them. It's just not. They'll have to learn on their own how to do it. And you just have to treat everybody as though they can soothe themselves because you have to free yourself from that responsibility. You'll go mad, miserable if you're over here trying to help people feel better. It's just not your responsibility. It's just too much. It's just too much emotional labor is really what it is. So just remember that, consciously be thinking that with every interaction that you have with people when they start getting upset and giving you silent treatment and doing all those kind of things, just remember, well, this person they need to be able to soothe themselves. They need to be able to bounce back. You have to be able to bounce back. I can't help you do that. I can't be you. That's the main thing, is remembering you can't be other people for them. They have to do that themselves. So thank you so much for tuning into this week's episode. Thank you for everybody who has left reviews. Once again, I read them all. They're so good. They're so amazing. And just thank you for listening to this podcast. And I hope that this week's message helped you out and helped bring some awareness into your life. And I will catch you next week, same place, same time.